Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. After 5 years of marriage, my husband Ethan brought his first love, Olivia, home after a 6-month business trip. Olivia was more than 3 months pregnant. Ethan said that her life was not easy and she needed to stay at our house for a while. I refused, and Ethan told me not to be ungrateful. His tone was full of disgust, as if he had forgotten that this villa was my dowry. His whole family had been living off me, and this time I decided to cancel all financial support for their living. I smiled and called my assistant to immediately draw up a divorce agreement for me. A living son-in-law should bring his mistress home openly. Knowing that Ethan was coming back today, early in the morning, I laid out the little things I had collected for him from various places in the past 6 months and instructed the nanny, Isabel, to prepare a table of his favorite food. At that moment, the front door opened, and Ethan appeared in front of me with his first love in his arms. I was full of surprise. Olivia walked towards me with a smile and stroked her slightly bulging belly to say hello. Vivian, long time no see. Looking at her slightly bulging belly, I was filled with anger. Olivia seemed to notice the change in my mood and quickly walked up to me, took my wrist and said in a delicate voice, "Vivian, please don't get excited. This is all my fault. If you want to blame someone, blame me. Please don't accidentally hurt brother Ethan." Olivia's simple sentence made me feel like I had been struck by lightning. I hadn't said anything yet, but Olivia had already told me everything. Ethan had been observing my movements all the time, looking like he was ready to rush up to protect Olivia at any time. I clenched my fists tightly and glared at Ethan, asking, "Aren't you going to explain?" After saying that, he sighed, took Olivia's hand and said softly, "I'll take you to choose a room first. Just leave these things to me to handle." Ethan's gentle tone stunned me. In the 5 years of marriage, Ethan had never used such a tone with me. Under my gaze, he helped Olivia upstairs. The driver delivered 3 large suitcases. It seemed that Olivia had moved half of her house here. Obviously, Olivia looked even more rosy-cheeked than I did, but he protected Olivia as if she were a doll. I slumped on the sofa, waiting for Ethan to settle Olivia and give me an explanation. I was just about to rush upstairs when I heard sharp laughter upstairs, but the doorbell rang. Ethan's parents entered with gloomy faces. As if they didn't see me, they quickly rushed upstairs to the 2nd floor. I followed them upstairs and saw Ethan holding his parents' hands and saying sincerely, "I didn't mean to hide it from you." Olivia's progesterone was unstable in the early stage, and I was afraid of accidents. "I hope you can understand that Olivia and I love each other. And the baby in her belly is your grandson after all. Please don't blame her." I thought about the 5 years of marriage with Ethan. Whenever I had a disagreement with his mother, Ethan would say that his mother was old and asked me to be more patient with her, and never stood up for me. I always thought that was his temperament until today when I saw him protecting Olivia everywhere. Then I realized that I had always been a clown. Olivia took Ethan's mother's hand and echoed, "Actually, I didn't mean to destroy brother's marriage. Brother and I really love each other. I hope uncle and aunt can understand." Ethan's mother's brows gradually relaxed, and she glanced at me standing outside the door. I knew she was hesitating. In the past 5 years, I had transferred living expenses to her on time every month, and anyone could see that Olivia and I couldn't compare in terms of financial resources at all. My heart instantly sank to the bottom as my husband Ethan didn't even tell me in advance about this matter, and instead embarrassed me in public. Did he really think that I had no temper and no self-esteem? Seeing the silence of the whole audience, Olivia immediately had red eyes and began to sob. "The child in my belly is innocent anyway. I will give birth to him. You can scold me whatever you want, but I hope my child won't be hurt." Big tears rolled down Olivia's cheeks. She looked so pitiful that anyone who saw her would feel sorry for her. Ethan wiped the tears from the corners of Olivia's eyes with a distressed look and said with resentment in his voice, "Mom, answer her quickly. You know that pregnant women need to keep their emotions stable." Ethan's parents started urging us to have children immediately after we got married. In the past 5 years, my belly had never moved, and Ethan's parents had said a lot of gossip behind my back, and I knew all about it. Considering the inheritance of descendants, Ethan's father, who had been standing aside and hadn't spoken, said, "After all, Olivia is pregnant with our Ethan family's descendants. Everyone should be more patient in the next few months. As soon as the words fell, everyone's eyes were fixed on me. They stood together with a strong sense of atmosphere, and for a moment I felt that I was the outsider. I couldn't help but sneer twice and said, "Doesn't anyone ask for my opinion?" Seeing my unhappy face, Ethan angrily blocked in front of Olivia and questioned, "Vivian, are you deaf? I've told you everything in front of you. What else do you want to know?" I couldn't help but sneer. My husband had been on a business trip for half a year and came back to give me such a big surprise. Not only did he not give me a face-to-face explanation, but he also had an overbearing attitude towards me. Seeing that I didn't say anything, Olivia cried again and choked, saying while holding Ethan's wrist, "Brother, if Vivian is really angry, maybe I should go." Ethan's mother didn't like it when she heard it and immediately responded, "You are pregnant with our Ethan family's grandson in your belly. How can we let you go?" After saying that, Ethan glared at me and said, "Say something. Look at how scared Olivia is. After all, the baby in Olivia's belly. Why is my child? If you really have an opinion, you can only vent it to me in private. I will never allow you to hurt her." After saying that, Olivia took Ethan's wrist and said eagerly, "No, brother, I don't want you to be angry either. I will feel sorry for you." Olivia's simple sentence made Ethan's eyes red. Ethan's parents also smiled and nodded after hearing it. It could be seen that they were very satisfied with Olivia. I couldn't listen anymore and turned around and left. I locked myself in the master bedroom for the whole noon and didn't come out. The laughter coming from the living room was extremely harsh. In the afternoon, Isabel knocked on the door and came in to tell me that Olivia had originally wanted to stay in my master bedroom but was stopped by Ethan's mother. She said that after all, you rely on the Vivian family, and there are all kinds of things at home that still need your help, so they can't completely anger you. She also said Isabel has been with me since I was a child. She knows my temper. So she looked up at my expression at this point, seeing that I didn't interrupt her. She continued. She also said that all the expenses after her pregnancy will be paid by you anyway. Since you can't have children, you might as well be involved and experience it too. At this point my face turned. I straightened my sleeves and asked, "Is there anything else?" Isabel added, "She said that after you have no children, all your property will belong to this child." I couldn't help laughing. This whole family really has a great plan. Although I was very angry, I didn't show it. I knew this wasn't the right time. Isabel asked me what to do next. I just smiled and told her to go about things as usual. She brought me lunch. After I finished eating, I sat by the window of the bedroom and looked downstairs. At this moment, Ethan was taking Olivia out. Memories came flooding back. It was also an afternoon 5 years ago when I went back to my parents crying and making a fuss, saying that I would only marry Ethan. At that time, my parents already had a candidate for a son-in-law in mind. They took a fancy to Levi, the only son of the Levi group. The Levi group is one of the most prominent in Jiangchong. Levi and I had been neighbors since we were kids. My parents always liked him and often invited him to our house for dinner. But I had never had any romantic feelings for Levi. Since I met Ethan, I devoted my whole heart to him, and naturally didn't want to marry into the Levi family. I always told my parents that our generation should decide our own marriages and that Levi surely didn't like me either. But my parents told me that if Levi didn't have feelings for me, he wouldn't have offered to pick me up and send me home so many times after I went out to play. Actually, at that time, I didn't really care whether Levi liked me or not. The day I met Ethan was at the Student Union recruitment fair on the first day of college. He and I almost picked up the same registration form at the same time. He said "excuse me" very gentlemanly and offered me the registration form. That day, he was wearing a gray tracksuit. His eyes were clear, he was very tall, and he had a sunny smile. His hands were very nice. As someone who loves beautiful hands, I was smitten. This unexpected encounter made me unconsciously remember his phone number. After we parted, I added him on WeChat. When I told him my name, he didn't hesitate and said to me, "Vivian, I've heard so much about you." From that day on, I unconsciously hoped to run into Ethan on the road. I even tried my best to get into the student union just to have more contact with him. Love at first sight, I was willing to follow in his shadow like this. After we got married, Ethan offered to help me manage the company, suggesting that I be a carefree wife. I didn't refuse him. I thought that husband and wife should be of one mind. Ethan's family background was quite ordinary. I thought that since he wanted to achieve something in his career, I should help him. My parents and best friend had both advised me to think it through. After all, my parents had told me before marriage that Ethan didn't marry me just because he loved me. He also had his eyes on my family's wealth. I said I didn't care. As long as he truly loved me, it would be fine. After marrying me, Ethan's parents led a comfortable life. They quit their jobs at the factory and lived very comfortably on the living expenses transferred by Ethan every month. They would also brag everywhere that Ethan was now a boss, which led to many of Ethan's relatives coming to him for help. Those relatives even asked Ethan to arrange the marriages of their children, asking him to choose prominent people and join them as much as possible. Facing Ethan's family situation, I wasn't worried. I thought that since my family was rich, it wouldn't hurt to help them a bit more. Ethan didn't know that on the night before my engagement, Levi came to see me and gave me a share transfer contract. He said he hoped I would sign it. If one day my marriage was unhappy, he hoped I would have enough confidence to leave Ethan. He also clenched his fists tightly and said to me seriously, "Besides the Vivian family, you also have me. If he ever hurts you, I will definitely make him pay." I laughed at him, thinking he was overthinking. Since I was a child, I had always believed in my own judgment. I believed that Ethan would never let me down. Now it seems that all the advice people gave me was true. I was just so infatuated with love at that time that I didn't care at all. After marriage, even though I tried to please him in everything, he would still find fault with me. He said I couldn't do housework, had a bit of a temper, and that I wasn't as virtuous as the wives of his other friends. At that time, I was completely focused on Ethan. I even changed my habits for him. He liked to see me when he came home every day, so I would try to stay at home with him and study recipes to cook different delicious dishes. My best friend Jo Rand said that I had changed so much after marriage that I was almost unrecognizable. The young lady who used to love shopping and taking photos was actually willing to change for a man. Ethan's parents were very satisfied with me. Every time there was a family dinner, his relatives would praise me for being beautiful and kind. Probably only Ethan could pick out my flaws in the whole family. I always thought it was because I didn't do well enough. Now I realize that he just regarded me as a stepping stone. Without love in his eyes, how could he think I was good just like that? Without asking for my opinion at all, they settled Olivia in my house. In the evening, Olivia came to knock on the door to invite me to dinner. After I refused her 3 times, she started crying softly outside the door. Her crying got louder and louder, attracting Ethan. She then took the opportunity to say, "Vivian seems to have a great deal of resentment towards me." When I asked her to have dinner, she even scolded me. I opened the door with a face full of displeasure and stared at Olivia, who was crying pitifully and looking aggrieved. Ethan rushed forward, took her arm with a look of great concern, and comforted her, saying, "Stop crying, leave it to me." Olivia took the opportunity to take out a hairpin from her pocket and handed it to me, saying, "Vivian, I made this myself. Please take it. Can we get along well in the future?" Before she could finish speaking, I immediately interrupted. "Stop daydreaming. Who are you pretending for?" After saying that, Olivia sadly nestled into Ethan's arms. Ethan was so angry that he rushed up and slapped me. "Vivian, I've already reminded you. Olivia is a pregnant woman and needs to keep her emotions stable. You vicious woman, do you want to make her angry to death or what?" His expression was as if he was looking at a heinous criminal. This slap completely shattered the last bit of lingering affection between us. I stared at this adulterous couple in front of me, then suddenly walked over and slapped Ethan twice across the face. I almost used all my strength, and Ethan's cheeks instantly turned red and swollen, his face full of disbelief. "Vivian, are you crazy? How dare you hit me?" I looked at my red and swollen right hand and sneered twice. "You were the one who started it. What does it mean that you're getting so angry now? I'm the young lady of the Vivian family. How can you bully me at will?" Ethan's mother heard the commotion and quickly came over to persuade me. "Vivian, Ethan was just in a hurry. Don't argue with him." Seeing that my expression didn't soften at all, she quickly tugged at Ethan's sleeve and kept winking. This was the first and only time Ethan had ever hit me. I could tell that he was a bit nervous, but perhaps it was because Olivia was there, or maybe it was due to a man's pride. Ethan turned his face away and was unwilling to apologize to me. "Ethan," his mother shouted. She knew that if we continued to argue like this, Ethan would definitely be the one who got no benefits. I was really too impulsive just now. But if you had just obediently come down to eat with Olivia, none of this would have happened. His words were far from an apology. Every word was blaming me for being unreasonable. My heart sank to the bottom instantly, and I didn't even go downstairs to have dinner. I didn't meet with his family for the whole night. It was Isabel who felt sorry for me and brought me dinner. The next day I didn't get up until noon. Seeing that they were about to have lunch, I left without looking back. The company assistant told me that somehow everyone got the news that Ethan had brought back a pregnant woman after a 6-month business trip, and there was a lot of gossip about me in the company. Half an hour after I went out, Ethan sent me a message asking me to bring 2 boxes of bird's nests for Olivia when I came back. It would be best to buy her some jewelry as a gift for upsetting her yesterday. His overbearing tone made me find it very funny. I casually replied, "If she wants to eat it, you can arrange it for her yourself." As soon as I sent the message, Isabel told me that Olivia had taken all the health products my mother had just sent me, saying that eating them was good for the fetus in her womb. I asked casually what they said. Isabel said impatiently, "The Ethan family is extremely happy. They said that as long as she wants something or wants to eat something, just let them know. My mother arranges for someone to send me a batch of supplements every 3 months to make sure I take good care of my health." Unexpectedly, my mother's kindness was taken advantage of by them. Even Ethan's mother, who usually knew what was appropriate, acquiesced. There was no need for me to spare their feelings anymore. Since they treated me like this, why should I still protect their face? I went straight to the company and held a high-level meeting. After learning about the company's recent developments, I rearranged and deployed the work and informed all employees. Starting from today, I will return to the Vivian Group. Ethan is not allowed to set foot in the Vivian Group from this day on. The whole room was in an uproar. I didn't give any further explanation. After the meeting, I directly asked my assistant to make my latest decision public. If the Ethan family wants a grandson, they can pay for it themselves. After dealing with all the company matters, I went home. I informed my parents half an hour in advance. My mother said she would cancel all her activities and accompany me for dinner in the evening. Since I announced my decision, Ethan has called me more than a dozen times, but I haven't answered any of them. When I got home, my mother saw my heavy dark circles, and her eyes were full of distress. "Vivian, what happened? Why are you so haggard?" My mother's tenderness made me lose control of my emotions for a moment. I hugged her, my nose sore, and started crying. Since I was a child, I've always been the little princess in the family. Few people dared to bully me, and I rarely cried in front of my mother. As soon as my tears fell, my mother realized that this was no small matter. Her phone rang twice. After taking a quick look, my mother gently patted my back and said, "You've always liked to only tell us good news. With such a big thing happening and you suffering so much, how could you not tell us?" I was sobbing uncontrollably. It took a long time before I could speak. Slowly, I insisted on marrying Ethan back then. Letting down your own dad's good intentions. I know you've always disapproved of my marriage to Ethan. I don't want to cause you any more trouble. My mother said to me a bit angrily, "Your father and I will always be your strong support. Don't worry that we'll blame you. We've always said that Ethan is not the right match for you. You insisted on marrying him, but it's not too late now. Since he dares to treat you like this, you can just find someone else." I cried on my mother's shoulder for a long time. Such a gentle person also showed great anger when talking about Ethan. Just then, my father came home coincidentally. Levi, whom I hadn't seen for a long time, came back with him. I quickly wiped my tears and joked, "How does someone as busy as Levi have time to come and play with my dad?" My mother poked me and whispered, "Levi hasn't been to our house for a long time. He must have come when he heard you were back." I quickly stood up from the sofa, not sure whether I should leave or not. Levi looked me up and down and let out a soft sigh. "Miss Vivian always used to tease me a bit when she saw me. Why are you so quiet today? Someone who was so bossy since childhood. How could you suffer such great grievances after getting married for a few years and come back to cry to your mother? When you encounter any grievances, take revenge on the spot. You weren't like this before." I could tell that Levi must have heard the rumors outside and knew that there was a crisis in my marriage with Ethan. I could see the distress in his eyes, but I didn't want him to see me in such an embarrassing state at all. I wanted to turn around and leave, but Levi rushed up and grabbed me. I haven't finished talking yet. Where are you going? I couldn't help but have my eyes turn red again. Levi loosened his grip and said to me with a panicked face, "Don't cry." My tone was bad just now. "I apologize." Before he could finish speaking, 2 lines of hot tears had rolled down my cheeks. Levi nervously wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes and gently stroked my hair, saying, "Why don't you hit me? You know I'm most afraid of you crying." When I was a child, whenever I got angry, Levi would always stroke my hair like this to coax me. I never expected that Levi, who is now decisive in making decisions, would still coax me just like when we were kids. After all, Levi and I had a pretty good relationship when we were young. He was only 3 months older than me, but his mind was much more mature than mine. When we were kids, he would tell. All the little friends around me knew that I was his sister, and no one was allowed to bully me. But I bullied him quite a lot. Even when he received gifts that I liked on his birthday every year, I would snatch them away. Once he really didn't want to give me a limited edition figurine, and we even had a fight. Of course, he didn't hurt me, but I scratched the corner of his eye. That time, I cried with red eyes and apologized to him. Clearly, he was the one who got injured and bandaged, but in the end he coaxed me for a long time. After that, he always indulged me in everything. I thought he was afraid that I would hurt him again. Until my 18th birthday, my coming-of-age ceremony, he gave me a whole carload of gifts and said something ambiguous to me. "Actually, I don't just see you as a sister." At that time, I didn't understand the true meaning of his words and even laughed at him for giving 1,000 origami cranes as a big boy. That day, Levi stayed at my house for dinner, and we talked a lot until Ethan called me on the other end of the phone. Ethan asked angrily, "Vivian, where have you gone after buying Bird's Nest? Don't you know there's a pregnant woman at home waiting for you?" My parents and Levi also heard Ethan's tone through the receiver. Levi directly rushed over, snatched my phone and hung up the call. Levi said impatiently, "What an arrogant and ignorant thing. I didn't go home that night." Ethan kept calling me, but I ignored him. I didn't get home until almost noon the next day. Ethan was sitting in the living room with a gloomy face, staring at me without saying a word. Isabel quickly pulled me into the room and said, "Vivian, you're finally back. You don't know that woman made a fuss at home last night, demanding to eat Bird's Nest because you didn't come back all night. We didn't fall asleep until the middle of the night. That woman was in a bad mood with everyone this morning. I followed your instructions and prepared breakfast as usual, but she made sarcastic remarks about me, asking if I was too old to show my good cooking skills. If you hadn't told me in advance, I would have quit today." After having a meal at home, I called Isabel in advance and told her to go about things as usual and be patient for a few more days. As the saying goes, to cause someone's downfall, one must first allow them to become arrogant. Olivia dares to act so arrogantly just because she's pregnant. In this regard, she's really blind. After learning what had happened at home, I went downstairs directly to find Ethan. I sat down right in front of him and stared at him. The slap marks on his face were still clearly visible. Before I could say anything, he directly shouted at me angrily, "Vivian, you still know to come home." I couldn't help but laugh. I looked up at him and asked, "This is my home. I can come back whenever I want. Who are you to interfere?" Just then, Olivia and Ethan's parents entered the room angrily. Olivia walked directly up to Ethan, threw a card at him, and looked very displeased. "Brother, didn't you say I could use this card freely? Why did the salesperson say the card couldn't be swiped? I originally wanted Uncle and Aunt to pay, but the money they had together wasn't even enough to buy a bag." Ethan replied with a shocked face, "That's impossible. This card has an unlimited credit limit. It's still the one, Vivian." At this point, Ethan turned to look at me and asked, "Vivian, was it you? Now that things have come to this, I don't want to spare their feelings anymore." I sneered twice and replied, "It was me who stopped it. This is my supplementary card. I can decide whether you can use it or not. What can you do about it?" As soon as I finished speaking, Olivia pouted and pulled Ethan, saying, "Brother, you must handle this well. I've taken a fancy to several bags and want to buy them." Naturally, Ethan couldn't lose face in front of his beloved. He directly grabbed me and wanted to go aside to talk, but the bodyguard who rushed out pushed him down. Ethan shouted loudly, "Vivian, what are you trying to do?" I straightened my clothes and replied with a cold face, "You were so focused on playing with your phone just now that you didn't notice I came back with bodyguards. Do you think I'll let you push me around after suffering a slap from you?" Seeing that I had protection, Ethan's parents quickly said to persuade me, "Vivian, it's all a misunderstanding. Ethan didn't mean to hurt you just now. Please let him go. Let's talk things over nicely, okay?" I coldly glanced at her twice and replied, "If I hadn't brought people with me, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to leave today without giving you money." As if I had exposed her thoughts, Ethan's mother immediately fell silent. Seeing Ethan being pressed to the ground, Olivia was so scared that she shrank back and didn't dare to say a word. I looked at Olivia twice and asked, "Didn't you two claim to be in true love? So why are you hiding so far away when he's in trouble?" Seeing me taunting Olivia, Ethan immediately shouted, "Vivian, if you have something to say it to me. Don't bully Olivia." I couldn't help but sigh. How blind Ethan must be. He's still protecting Olivia even when he's in such a difficult situation himself. Seeing that Ethan was still backing her up, Olivia immediately chimed in, "Vivian, it's not that I don't feel sorry for him. It's just that I'm pregnant. If I rush up and get pushed down by the bodyguard and lose the baby, it'll be bad for everyone." I laughed coldly and slowly walked up to Olivia. Seeing that I was going to make things difficult for Olivia, Ethan struggled, looking as if he would protect her to the death. I wanted to gently reach out and touch Olivia's belly but was stopped by Ethan's parents. In the face of family affection, they didn't care if I was their cash cow anymore. Ethan's father directly pushed me to the ground with force and shouted, "Vivian, stay away from our grandson." I sat on the ground in pain, looking at them with a cold face. I remember when I first met Ethan. I could give him the management rights of the company. I was fully confident of being in control of the situation. When all the evidence was laid in front of Ethan, he clenched his fists in anger and roared at Olivia, "So you never loved me from the beginning? You just treated me as a backup, right?" I never thought that even now, Ethan was still agonizing over whether there was love between him and Olivia. I publicly announced that Ethan was kicked out of the company and told him that I would thoroughly investigate all the accounts of the company during the years he took charge. Any irregular payments would need to be returned by him at the original price. Ethan panicked and quickly explained, "Vivian, this is all a misunderstanding. I was deceived. Please forgive me just this once." Levi, who was standing aside, couldn't stand Ethan's act and took out the divorce agreement I asked him to prepare and threw it in his face. "Sign it quickly. Stop pretending to ask for forgiveness. You should know Vivian's character. Once she makes a decision, she won't change it." After learning the truth, Ethan's parents also started speaking up for Ethan, but it was all too late. I laughed coldly and stopped them. "That's enough. It's meaningless to say these things now." That day, Ethan's family, along with Olivia, were kicked out of my house. I contacted the property management and put these 4 people on the blacklist of my visitors. I didn't want to see any of them appear at my doorstep again. After dealing with the matter, I left the country with Levi overnight. Of course, it wasn't for a vacation. Levi told me that he could help me enter the jewelry industry, which I've always wanted to get into. He knew that I've loved painting since I was a child and have great design talent. But as the only daughter in the family, my mission since childhood told me that I had to learn business. I was destined to inherit the family business later. Design could only be considered one of my personal hobbies. During the years when Ethan took over the company, I mentioned several times that I wanted to lead the company into the jewelry industry, but each time Ethan rejected the idea. Ethan even thought I was being petty. He considered it a niche industry that only rich kids played around with. He had a strong sense of pride. Over the past few years, he almost didn't let me attend any meetings except for the company's annual meeting. His reason was that if both of us managed the company at the same time, it would make the employees feel confused. I respected his idea, so this matter was put on hold. Yesterday, I just mentioned it to Levi casually, and he immediately started arranging it. On the plane, he carefully brought me snacks and earplugs. He still remembered that I like quietness and tend to fall asleep during car rides or flights. After getting off the plane, there were dozens of missed calls on my phone. There were also a few messages from my assistant. He told me that Ethan had taken his whole family to make a scene downstairs at my company and even attracted the media seeing me. Levi directly snatched the phone from me. He walked aside, gave some instructions, and then came back and told me to leave these troublesome matters to him next time. Although it was just a short sentence, it still made my heart twitch uncontrollably. After marrying Ethan, I had to handle a lot of things at home by myself. It had been a long time since I had experienced such thoughtfulness and tenderness. Ethan had been very busy these past few years. Several times when I had a high fever and wanted him to accompany me to the hospital, he was either on a business trip or said he was too tired and asked Isabel to accompany me instead. Even regarding the fact that we hadn't had a child, I had asked him several times to go to the hospital for a checkup with me, but he always made excuses about having a lot of company affairs and not having the time. The label of being infertile had been attached to me for a long time, but the results of my annual gynecological checkups were always normal. I had carefully taken care of Ethan's feelings but ended up with such a result. I was very unwilling. After arriving in the new country, Levi introduced me to several well-known designers, and we reached a preliminary cooperation. Back in the country, Ethan's family was still making trouble these past 2 days and even got me trending on Weibo. I didn't see those trending topics. Presumably, Levi took timely action. But I told my assistant to inform me if there was any news. After finishing the business talks, I invited Levi to dinner. He bought me a bunch of ustas. When I saw the flowers, I was stunned again. Levi asked me curiously what was wrong. I smiled and replied, "Maybe you'll find it funny. The flowers Ethan gave me every anniversary these past few years were pink roses." I had told him that I liked ustas, but he always got it wrong. Seeing that Levi, whom I hadn't seen for years, still remembered my preferences, I suddenly realized that it wasn't that Ethan couldn't remember, but that he just didn't want to care. The capacity of one's heart is limited. He just didn't want to spare any for me. That night I drank a lot of wine, which was quite unusual for me. Ethan had always wanted a child and had high demands on me. After marriage, I hadn't tasted alcohol for a long time. After Levi sent me back to my room, it seemed that he whispered something in my ear, but I was so dizzy that I wasn't sure if I heard it correctly. The matters in Juning hadn't been fully resolved yet. My parents contacted me and told me to stay in the new country for a few more days to relax. Coincidentally, Levi wasn't very busy, so we decided to stay. After I got married, he studied abroad in the new country for 2 years and was very familiar with everything here. He took me to the campus where he studied for his postgraduate degree and showed me around many niche markets. I found a lot of interesting little things. Levi paid for everything every time I asked him. When I questioned why he wouldn't let me spend money, he said, "How could I let my sister pay? People would laugh at me." But I remembered that when I was drunk that day, Levi didn't call me his sister. We stayed in the new country for 7 days. Every day we would sleep until late morning. Then Levi would take me to have lunch, go shopping, and watch the sea. We would play until midnight before going back. During these 7 days, I felt more relaxed than ever before, and also thought through a lot of things. It would be a lie to say that I wasn't sad. Every night, I would ask myself the question that Levi had asked me. "Do you regret it?" I knew what he meant. A week later, I gave him my answer. "I don't regret it because no one knew that all this would happen. If I could do it all over again, I would still make the same choice." He gently stroked my hair and sighed, saying, "Okay, as long as you don't regret it." Ethan went to my company to make trouble every day and still refused to sign the divorce agreement. I had no choice but to resort to the court. Ethan's family didn't have any savings. After being kicked out, the 3 of them could only squeeze into a small hotel to live. I heard that Ethan beat Olivia up badly, and the child was miscarried on the spot. After that, Ethan never visited Olivia in the hospital. He even asked her to return the gifts he had given her because he had no money. Olivia was so angry that she went crazy in the hospital and was diagnosed with mental illness and locked up. My divorce case with Ethan went to court half a month later. Since the evidence provided by my side was very sufficient, Ethan was ordered to leave the marriage with nothing and compensate me 5 million yuan. That 5 million yuan was the money he had embezzled from my company after deducting his salary. After the court session, Ethan went crazy and shouted at me, Vivian, you're not short of this money. Why are you forcing me? I didn't turn back to look at him but walked straight away. This farce finally came to a complete end at the moment of the verdict. Levi was waiting for me outside. Today was his birthday, and I knew he was preparing a surprise for me. At the birthday party, he knelt down on one knee and confessed his love to me in front of everyone, but I didn't agree to him. I took his ring and told him it takes time to empty my heart. I hope you can wait for me. He hugged me tightly and said the same thing as that night. Vivian, I've been waiting for you so patiently.